Hello friends and welcome to La Kalama YouTube channel. I'm Natasha and I live and knit in Canada. I'm so glad you stopped at my channel. Today we will have episode where I will talk about my finished objects, about my works in progress, what I would like to work on next week, and also I would like to talk about these two books that I finished reading. They are about knitting. One is called Unraveling and the other one is called The Mindfulness in Knitting. So those two books are very different and I would like to talk about them a little bit. I would like in the beginning to mention what I'm wearing today. I'm wearing today one of the Sari Nordland's patterns. I knitted this top out of 50% cashmere and 50% silk yarn. It was also yarn on cone, made in Italy. It was stock yarn, and this top, actually what I like, it has very beautiful design on the body, but my yarn choices maybe weren't the best so you can't really see the pattern, but I really wanna knit this top again using like lighter yarn, cotton merino or some other yarns would be really great. It goes top down up and then you do set in sleeve, which sits really nice, but the only minus that I don't like, because I put this top on a hanger and then you can see this little thing is on the shoulders, but it's nothing wrong with design or construction, it's just the way I store it. So I really every time I wear it, see, like you can see it here, every time I wear it I think, okay, I need to wet block it and lay it flat to dry and fold it and put it on a shelf. But I didn't get to it yet, but I hope I will, because I really love this top, and I will I don't remember the name right now like a good blogger but I'll put name on the screen, and also I will leave link below this video to this pattern. But Sari has this top as a t-shirt or long sleeve, so it's both of those are described in a pattern, and I think Sari knitted it in a light lavender color and it looked really nice. So I'm dreaming to knit one in lighter color, but I still wear this top a lot. I like it a lot. So I had some finished objects as always, and first finished object that was almost finished last time we spoke, it's my pair of Christmas socks. They were supposed to be finished in December, but they are finished in the middle of January. More end of January. So I was knitting them out of yarn Cozy Knitter by Cozy Knitter, and it was her colorway, I believe, from 2022, because she had some colorway repeats of the colorways, and I really loved this color, and I decided to purchase it for myself and work on this pair of socks this December, this Christmas season. So these socks are for size 37 and they weigh only 59 grams, which is quite good. And it had mini skein and full skein. So mini skein I used for heels and ribbing, but for the toes I used just like, it just happens that section repeat was exactly at the right place. So this socks will go into my Christmas box, because I started a couple years ago, I started to knit every Christmas season one pair of socks, because I wanted to have a box with Christmas socks that I would wear only Christmas season. And I have, I believe, 3 pairs in there, so one more will go. So this one is 3rd or 4th pair, and I'm sure I need 1 or 2 more, then it would be enough, like to, you know, to switch and wear them for Christmas season. My next 2 finished objects is those beautiful socks out of Angora mink fur yarn. They're very soft and fluffy, and I also insert picture of a second pair that I knitted, but it's kind of more milk coffee milk with coffee with milk kind of color, beige, I would call it beige, and this one is white. And I love to knit them, and I'm sure you will see way more of them, and I'm knitting a lot of those to order. And this one is size 10. Women's size 10, and the beige ones, they were size 11, US size 11. That's a lot of pleasure to knit and work on those socks. Also, I got myself a microphone, so I hope sound will be better, but we will see. My next finished object is object that I'm very, very proud of, and it's this big shawl that I knitted out of my handspun yarn. I was spinning this yarn, and you can see imperfection in here because it looks like I was when I was applying yarn, I didn't go same side. I don't know exactly what happened, but something clearly happened. So I had this lace, as you remember, and then I spun 400 grams of the wool, and this wool is white one is just local sheep, regular local sheep. The gray one also local sheep, but it was spun by someone else. And a black, because I have 3 ply here, and the black one is just from Izetex, kind of like Alava Sloppy, but the thinnest one. I think I can pronounce this name, so I won't just. So, and that's humongous shawl that I knitted, and I will insert picture how it looks on me. I was knitting back and forth. I'm not 100% sure about construction of the shawl, if it would be comfortable to wear or not. And here I did edging on seat stitch, but now I'm not sure if I'll have to open it and knit it on a smaller size needle so it doesn't fold a little bit. But this shawl is like, I really like the texture. I like how lace attached and how it looks, but shawl is still wet, so that's why I will make a short video and show how it looks on me. Also, I didn't have enough yarn for bind off, so but I had still some gray and black yarn, but I didn't have any white, so I just found a thicker mohair and I plied mohair and gray and black yarn together, and I used that yarn for a bind off. So, but I'm super proud about this project because it's my first project out of my handspun yarn, and also it's a big project. I finished it, and also I was very proud because I redid something that I like, but I didn't like the first result, right? So it's kind of like so many check marks in finishing this project. So next project was supposed to be a finished object today, but what happened, project wasn't finished yet, but I ran out of yarn. So this yarn is on cone. It's Italian chained 100% cashmere, and I had it was cone of 400 about 470 grams, but the cone itself was 44 grams. So, and here in sweater I have 425 grams, and I was knitting sweater number 18, so it was going good. But then when I started to knit sleeves, I realized that because yarn is so thick, it's the sweater looks very bulky with this even simple relief pattern. So I decided to knit sleeves just stockinette stitch, and I did it. But when I was working on a body, here I ran out of yarn, so I need to knit at least this much yet. So what I decided, that I will put this sweater on hold. I don't know what I will do with it, or if I will continue, or if I will unravel it. But when I was buying this white, like off-white yarn, I also purchased two other colors. And this yarn I have 538 grams on each cone, so it's very close to 500 grams instead of 425. So, and I really want to knit sweaters or cardigans out of it. So my thought was to knit garments out of, for example, pink one, and see if it's enough and if there will be some leftovers. Because if there will be some leftovers from this cone and this cone, I can add two bright stripes to my sweater number 18. But if I don't have any leftovers, then I will have to unravel sweater number 18 and knit it, or like something else, and maybe on a bigger needles, because I don't want to take yarn from here and finish sweater number 18 but then not be able to knit something out of these two gorgeous cashmere cones. So that's it about sweater 18. It's off my needles, but it's not finished object, but I cannot continue working on it. Now let's continue to my works in progress. So one of my works in progress is these socks out of Zumber ball. So I finished first sock and I'm working on my second one. That's how beautiful ball looks like. So many new colors coming, and I'm knitting on second sock, and I started to knit heel because I'm using a strong, I think it's a heel called strong, and I'm using that construction. But you can see already colors a little bit different from each other, but still kind of close. And this project goes kind of slow because it's in my car, and I knit on it only when I wait for someone, when I'm picking up someone, or just have to sit and wait in a car. And I'm really hoping when I'm done with my first pair, still have enough yarn for a second pair. If it's not enough, maybe I can use for heels and toes a different yarn. But it's really pleasant to work with it. I'm working with Zumba ball first time, and it's really exciting how it changes color and even how yarn feels itself while I'm knitting. Really enjoy it very much. So my second project that I showed it to you last time. It's my Cristalla top, which I'm knitting also out 100% cashmere Italian yarn, and as you remember, I didn't have enough, and I was supposed to unravel bottom of this cardigan and out of this top, and I did, and I have 23 grams here. And also I wanted to edit this Super Geelong by Zigna Barufa yarn on the bottom to make it longer. So I started doing that, and I'm holding also Zigna Barufa, this Geelong triple, 3 layers, and I started to knit, and I think it looks really nice. But with red cashmere, I cannot divide this ball into 2 balls, even though I know here 23 grams, because I need to knit second sleeve is a bit shorter. I need to knit them so they would be same length, and then I'll put my ball on a scale, and I'll knit half of the ball in one sleeve and half of the ball in the other sleeve, and then I'll also finish them up with black edging, like here. I think I will like this top very much, and I think I will like this color combination, even though I didn't have enough yarn, but black yarn in the end I think will be great. And because my shawl is off my needles, but I really want to work on a shawl, I decided to pick up this shawl that I was knitting together with Steven West. It was Geo shawl or something like that. And I stopped at this moment because I was knitting, but then I had so many orders that I had to stop this project, and also I wanted to knit some Christmas projects. So, but now I thought it's a great time to pick it up, and I need to first knit this beautiful square, and then there will be next steps. But I'm knitting it out of yarn from Hobby. It's recycled wool with some viscose, and I'm holding a double with a strand of kid silk. So this one is from Rika Design, but other ones are from Drops. So, and I really enjoy this project. It's fun, it's stripy, and I'm hiding ends right away, so there shouldn't be any problem. Also, I started another project which you didn't see yet, and it's a small little cardigan for my youngest daughter. So she's 4 years old, and a year or two ago I knitted her a yellow cardigan exactly like this, and for that cardigan I was holding one strand of Angora mink fur yarn, yellow, and one strand of merino wool with stellina. And I knitted out of this pink yarn. If you remember, if you're long enough with me, I dyed this yarn. Base is from Knit Picks. It's sock base. It's merino wool with nylon and 5% stellina, and I dyed 3 skeins, and I knitted myself Love Note. But I have this yarn left over, and she really wanted to have a pink sweater, but I realized that it's not enough for her cardigan, even though I'm using a bigger needle and adding like some extra yarns. Also, I have this purple that I knitted socks out of, but I still have about 50 grams, so maybe I'll just do stripes on the bottom of the body. And also I had this yarn. It says 70% acrylic and 30% wool, and I'm knitting from cone, also holding this strand triple. So, and all like these three yarns are in this cardigan, and it gives this beautiful melange color. So I'll keep knitting it, and I'll keep you posted and tell you my results and how it goes. But she, of course, cannot wait until it's done. Also, I did my spinning a little bit on pause, but now I picked it up again. If you remember, I wanted to also spin this beautiful braid during my Advent season, but that's how much I did only. And I picked it up, and I'll keep spinning it. Here it says has some sari silk, and it's like in these bigger chunks, and it's very kind of hard to pull and spin, but still a lot of fun, and it creates a very nice fabric. I have only 100 grams. I'm not sure what I'll need, but first I want to spin it and maybe make 2-ply or 3-ply, and there would be enough for a hat or a small scarf or mittens. I'll decide what I'll do, but for sure it will not be socks. It will be something that you can see. And now I would like to talk about these two books that I read. This first book is called Unraveling. Its author, her name is Peggy. Here she is. So, and her idea was during COVID, she decided to learn how to shear a sheep, how to wash and comb yarn, wool, fleece, and then spin it herself, and then hand dye it with natural materials, and then she knitted a sweater like that. So, and then she writes in this book her whole process from shearing to washing to spinning and everything. And she talks a lot about being mindful with our clothes and sustainability and a lot of good stuff. So I read this book and I finished it. And then I also picked up this book. It's called The Mindfulness in Knitting by Rachel Matthews. This book talks about how knitting is calming and kind of meditative, how we relax when we knit, and all the good stuff knitting brings to us. And here was very interesting. I even put my bookmark here because there was a little like a little story. It says a cardigan abroad. So she, back at home, as I watched the Ukrainian conflict unfold on the news, I was transported back to Natasha's elaborately decorated former Soviet apartment. And then she talks about knitter Natasha in Ukraine, which is like, match a little bit with me. I also lived in an apartment that was built by Soviet Union. I also knitted, and so this Ukrainian knitter Natalia, she gifted Rachel cardigan, which she took with her to England, and like it's just very interesting story. Also, it talks about how when we knit to orders, and I don't know, it's a lot of information, and it feels like it would be nice to read this book a few times. So that's two books that I read about knitting that I thought I would mention here. Maybe I don't know, maybe some of you are also knitting, some of you like to read books about knitting, not only patterns but also other information about knitting. So that was fun. If you know any of the really interesting, nice books about knitting, maybe mention it in the comments below. I would love to go and check out a few more books and see the story behind it. It's always fun not only to knit but also read about your hobby. So that was really fun talking to you, and I hope I'll see you soon and talk to you soon. Bye.